Hey. Welcome back to After the Snap. I'm your host, Tasha Pierce. And today we are going to do this weekly wrap up that we didn't get to do yesterday because Ashton. Y'all know Ashton. Ashton. So if you are unfamiliar with who Ashton is my grandson. And Ashton is the boss. So when I have Ashton, I can't do too much of anything else. I have to give Ashton my full attention. So that was what happened yesterday. Today, I feel like complete and total crap, but I'm like, shoot, I already put this thing off once. I gotta come in and do some, do a show, even if it's an abbreviated one. Since if I don't get any people in my chat, I'm gonna zoom through this. But you guys can always watch it on the rebroadcast, correct? And if you look down here in the description box, you will see links to articles that I use, get all my little information from, that I'm going to share with you today. You will also find ways that you can catch up with me when I'm not doing a show, and or if you like to support the show. So a lot of links down there. Pick one that fits you and help the show out if you are able to. The biggest thing that you can do, however, is subscribe to the channel and share this stream with someone who will appreciate it. If you're in the place, I'm glad to have you here today. If you would not mind from me, could you please start things off by hitting the like button if you're here? Hit the like button so that this will get put out to a few more eyes weekly. We want to not be talking to ourselves week to week. It's okay though. It's okay if you guys, if you like to see me just talk to myself, that's fine too. Whatever makes you happy, right? Okay, so today I am, let me see now, what did I do here? Yeah, okay, today we got a mini docket, and the reason why, again, I feel like crap. So, one of the big things that you will find missing from my docket today, from the whole itinerary, is the Star Trek news that came out of New York Comic Con. I want to be a little bit more high energy when I talk about that, uh, all of the stuff that we got out of New York Comic Con. And right now, my energy level is plummeting. So I'm going to try to do that either as a podcast. Yeah, y'all didn't know that I'm putting out podcast episodes now. So wherever you find your podcast, with the podcast that you listen to, then you can find After the Snap Movies and TV. It is a brand new feed. It only has 2 episodes uploaded, and the second one I just uploaded is the spoiler-free review of Werewolf by Night. So if you wanted to know my thoughts on Werewolf by Night in a spoiler-free fashion, you will find that review on the podcast feed. So yeah, I may just put out whatever, my thoughts on the Star Trek trailers that we got over in New York Comic Con. I may put that out as a podcast, or I might come back here depending on how well I feel moving through the week, later on through this week. Okay, so with all that being said, I guess it is time to jump things off. And we are going to jump things off with the weekly wrap up, box office, top 5. And this week, it almost feels like deja vu. We got one new movie in the we got two. We got two new movies in the top 5. But we'll just start with number 1. Smile. So yes, Paramount Pictures' Smile has repeated its success of last week. It is now sitting at number 1 for the second week in a row. It had made $17.6 million this past weekend, giving it a total in the 2 weeks of its little existence $49.9 million. That's pretty good for Smile, seeing as though Smile only cost $17 million to make. So we're sitting at close to 50 million and counting for Smile. So that's a good take for that film. Our second one is new this week, Lyle Loud Crocodile. Now, many people thought that Lyle Loud Crocodile was going to take over the number one spot from Smile, but surprise, 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 Smile is still sitting at the top of the box office, at least for this week. Lyle Loud Crocodile did not do too shabby. It didn't do as well as people had hoped, especially seeing as though this is a family movie and people thought, hey, bring the kids out, they're going to watch Loud Loud. Not so much, but it wasn't terrible. In fact, it was good enough for number two at $11.5 million in its first week. Then we also have Amsterdam. This is a disappointment. Amsterdam cost upwards of $80 million to make from Disney, which is quite a bit of money for like this kind of comedy period piece that we got going on. So Amsterdam made $6.5 million in week one. And this is not the kind of movie that is going to gain steam over time. It's going to lose steam. So I'm going to keep my eyes on whether or not Amsterdam makes some type of resurgence. I can't see it happening because we've got other movies coming out next week that will give Smile a little bit of competition. And if Amsterdam couldn't compete with Smile, it's not going to be able to compete with the week one movies for next weekend. Hanging in there at number 4 is The Woman King. So Sony has Loud Loud Crocodile, and it also has The Woman King sitting at number 4. This one is in its fourth week. Still hanging out in the top 5, but it don't take much to be in the top 5 right now. The top 5 is, very low earning, but Woman King is still hanging out there at 5.3 million over this weekend with a grand total of 54.1 million in its 4 weeks. Let's see. Last but not least is Don't Worry, Darling. Don't Worry, Darling is that Warner picture that was released as one of the few that was going to get released at the back half of this quarter. And the only other film that we got to look forward to coming out of Warner now is Black Adam. And Don't Worry, Darling is giving people something to worry about because this is one of the movies that Warner was hanging its hats on. Over the 3-day, this past weekend, it made $3.47 million for a 3-week total of 38.45. Not what you're hoping for with a movie with a cast as star-studded as Don't Worry, Darling. Same thing I would say about Amsterdam. Star-studded cast is just not, it's not performing. But I also want to give you one more time this Avatar is showing back up. It's at the top 6 for I think this is the 3rd week of its re-release, and it is hanging in there. It shouldn't be because this movie is 20 years old. However, it is hanging in there. Over this 3-day, it made $2.6 million, which, again, good enough for number 6, and it has made $23.3 million over the 3 weeks of its reissue. So again, these are some pretty decent numbers for some pretty lower expectation type movies. A lot of people didn't expect the movies to do this. So I am excited for especially Paramount. Paramount is having a fantastic year this year. What with the Top Gun success and other movies that have come out under the Paramount umbrella, but this is becoming their year. It seems like this is their year. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And that is our box office top five, the weekly wrap up, box office top five. Hope you enjoyed that segment. Moving on. If you are a podcast aficionado like I am, I've got a list, a long list of podcasts that I listen to regularly. And sometimes they're like interchangeable parts. Sometimes I listen to the same ones over and over. And then other times I will move a different podcast into my rotation. Hey there, Clarence. Good to see you, sir. Um, well, one of the big podcast companies that's out there, and is owned is under the Spotify umbrella, is Parcast. And I listen to a lot of Parcast podcasts. They named recently two new two new heads of Gimlet and Parcast Podcast Studios. And also, Spotify canceled some podcasts, which is like, that's amazing that you would decide that these are podcasts that you could do without when there are like literally 5 or 6 million podcasts out there. Why not just leave these podcasts where they are? Nicole Beamsterboer will be stepping up to lead Gimlet, and I'm pretty sure I said her name wrong. She joined Spotify earlier this year as Gimlet's head of news and knowledge. Previously, she was at NPR and she worked on shows like Embedded and Invisibilia, two podcasts that I really don't listen to. She also won a Peabody Award for those podcasts. So she was a senior producer for the NPR podcast White Lies and a finalist for the first Pulitzer Prize for audio reporting in 2020. Now, Liliana Kim joined Spotify as managing director of podcasts. That's effective November 7th. She was most recently at American Public Media, where she served as general manager of APM Studios, and she also worked previously for HBO and Viacom. But now, let's get into the podcasts that were canceled by Spotify. Those are 11 podcasts from these two platforms. They'll be being erased over the next several months, so not instantly, but we know we can look forward to not having these shows around, including Gimlet's How to Save a Planet, Crime Show, and Every Little Thing, which are things that I didn't listen to, but Parcast, Medical Murders, Female Criminals, Crimes of Passion, Dictators, Mythology, Haunted Places, and Urban Legends. All of these podcasts, out of these, the only one I don't listen to is Haunted Places. All the rest of them are podcasts that I kind of rotate in and out of my list of things to listen to, and it's kind of heartbreaking. The voices are so familiar now, and they have become, not friends because they are not a very personable type of podcast, but they are something that I do look forward to listening to. So this is a rare group of podcasts being canceled. A business that Spotify has been growing rapidly and is going to have to kind of pull through and see if there are others that they can weed out. It kind of is a scary notion because I just joined Anchor for my podcast that I have now after the Snap Movies and TV that I just told you guys about a little bit ago. And Anchor is now owned by Spotify, which it doesn't make me happy to know that that they are weeding things out because sometimes you got these newer podcasts that are not big, don't have a huge following. So I hope that they don't tamper with the way Anchor has been performing and has been doing with their podcast distribution. Just leave that alone. Only mess with the big names and the ones that are owned by Spotify. So, Clara says that Gimlet went downhill after being acquired by Spotify. And that's another thing that I fear because I noticed that with other podcasts. Now, I can't say like with your Joe Rogan show, but for a while there, another podcast that I listen to regularly, which is Last Podcast on the Left, and then there was another one that was called, and I still listen to it, Alien Theorists Theorizing. So those two podcasts were acquired by Spotify. And I didn't really particularly like them under that umbrella. It seems like they were tiptoeing around their content, whereas I've gotten used to them being rather explicit, even though that's not for everybody. That is for me, and I did enjoy the way they put their shows out and put their shows together before they got with Spotify. Neither one of these podcasts re upped their contract with Spotify. They are now back to being independent, and I am happier for it. So I can understand that Gimlet probably went the way of a lot of those podcasts. Yep. Let me see. Now, our next our next topic is, I guess, Velma. I know it's weird because it seems like the second week in a row that we have been talking about Velma Dinkley. Last week, before we jump, I'm gonna go and grab Clarence's next comment. Gosh, my mind is scrambled. Clarence says Gimlet's tentpole Reply All is pretty much defunct. That's bad to hear. Now I don't know what Reply All is about. Let me take a look and see what is a good description of that podcast. A podcast about the internet that is actually an unfailingly original exploration of modern life and how to survive it. That actually sounds like it's right up my alley. But you say it's all but defunct now, and that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I might. It says here we got a question. Why is Reply All podcast canceled? The hiatus was because former Gimlet Media employees alleged that two people behind the Reply All podcast had acted similarly to what they were investigating at Bon Appetit. Oh, so it says goodbye after 8 years and 189 episodes. And wow. So it seems like they had a little bit of a scandal. Now I'm curious. Clarence did love this podcast, and I am going to give it a chance to see if they still have it, where I can see listen to the back catalog. Um, wow. That Reply All did not release the rest of the episodes of the investigation into Bon Appetit. They did leave the episodes up that had aired. What with that, they placed the show on pause. Uh, the show was hosted by Alex Goldman, PJ Volt, and Emmanuel Zotzi. Shortly before Vought left the show, Zotzi became the third host. When Vought left, Goldman and Zotzi were the only two hosts. Uh, oh, Goldman and Dotsie were the ones who hosted the final episode. If this is the first time you listen to the show, you really picked a weird episode. So Clara says that Bon Appetit thing was about racist columnists, and they did a story on it. And I guess what's going on with this scandal is that they might have had that same kind of issue. I'm still going to try give it a try, because if they still have the back catalog up, that sounds like it's up my alley, and I don't know why I had never heard of it. But yeah, okay, moving right along. Uh, Velma Dinkley from Scooby Dooby Doo Scoobies. They are getting she's getting her own show, and this show is still going to have the rest of the characters from the Scooby Doo cast in it. This cast of HBO Max's Velma was announced at New York Comic Con on this past Thursday by series executive producer and star Mindy Kaling. So, of course, Mindy Kaling is Velma Dinkley. Alongside Kaling, the leads include Constance Wu as Daphne, Sam Richardson as Shaggy, which I think that's going to cause a problem, because if you're unsure of who Sam Richardson is, he's black. So that's going to cause a problem. Glenn Hoverton is Fred. Now, rounding out this cast in unknown roles is Jane Lynch, Wanda Sykes, Russell Peters, Melissa Fumero, Stephen Root, Gary Cole, Ken Leung, Cherry Jones, Frank Welker, Weird Al Yankovic, Fortune Feimster, Yvonne Orji. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. Sarayu Blue, Nicole Byer, Ming Na Wen, Shay Mitchell, Debbie Ryan, Kulap Vilasiak, and surprise, 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 Carl Anthony Towns. I didn't expect that to be there. Now, one element that Kayleen did confirm is that her Velma is South Asian. So, of course, that's already caused some problems. People were not happy that they changed the heritage of uh, Velma. They wanted to hold on to Velma as a white girl. Uh, so when Kaling announced that she was doing the voice of Velma, people were supportive and happy on Twitter, and then she was so happy. And then she announced that she was going to make this character South Asian in a reimagining, and a lot of people were not happy. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is not Velma then," and then other people were saying, "You're not the classic Velma," and this is a cartoon character, but here we are again. Uh, Now wait a minute, Clarence. What are you talking about? Clara said that I'm not mad at them for mixing it up. There's been 60 years to explore the other classic formula. And I agree with you, Clarence. You know, these are cartoon characters. And I guess it's going to this type of conversation is going to lead us into my last topic of today, which is on the thumbnail. If you guys saw the thumbnail, you guys know that last topic for today is going to be about the Batman. Yeah, Clarence, it is animated. It's animated. So yeah, but you know my last topic today is going to be about the Batman, and there some people with some thoughts on adults who are into too into these types of movies, and I guess that Velma would kind of fit into that. You know, we're talking about cartoons. These are not real people. So yeah, um, let's just see how it is. If you don't like the thoughts or the changes that are being made, I would say at least give it a chance. And if you don't like it, then just stop watching it. But you can't just we can't condemn everything for changing certain things. I can understand, again, I've said this a million times, if this was a biopic, if Velma was a real person, and then we just decided we're gonna make Velma South Asian, even though she has been white her entire real life. But this is a cartoon. This is not real. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Velma, uh, Mindy Kaling playing her, and the fact that she is reimagining this character as a South Asian character, and we also have a black Shaggy. Let me know how you feel about those things. I haven't heard anything about which person is playing Scooby. That might be a scary thought too. How people will not be happy with the Scooby actor or actress as well. So now this is for my sister, and I don't know if she's listening to right now or will she be listening on the rebroadcast. But this is for my sister. She wanted me to talk about Kanye West again. Now, I can say I'm gonna keep talking about Kanye because I kept talking about I dropped something. I kept talking about Ezra Miller. So I guess we could just keep talking about Kanye, the more stupid things that he does. Again, just like I said about Ezra Miller, I believe that Kanye West is suffering a mental or a psychiatric kind of break, and a lot of what he's doing is not funny. It is very concerning. And I don't know, I'm not, I don't get any uh, happiness or joy out of talking about this man on a regular basis. But here we are. He continues to put himself in a spotlight, and we have to discuss it. Um, and one of those things that we're discussing is this weekend, Kanye kind of lost his ish, and he got into a little bit of, I guess, Instagram or Twitter or social media wars with a few people. Okay, so we're going to start with a deadline article about the situation. And let's see, I'm going to pull a window up here. Um, let's see. Okay, so Kanye West um, continues to face backlash following anti Semitic social media posts that have locked him out of Twitter and Instagram. You got to be a special kind of person to get kicked out of both in the same week. Jewish organizations like the Anti Defamation League have called out the rapper and condemned his dangerous words. Uh, Power, disloyalty, greed, deicide, blood, denial, anti Zionism, all of these are anti Semitic tropes that we break down in our anti Semitism uncovered guide, the stated in the tweet. Many of these myths have influenced Kanye West's comments recently, and it's dangerous. Um, They also said the behavior exhibited this week by Kanye West is deeply troubling, dangerous, and anti Semitic, period. There's no excuse for his propagating of white supremacist slogans and classic anti Semitism about Jewish power, especially with the platform he has. Um, Now, this all started because Kanye West shared a screenshot of a text exchange that he had with Sean P. Diddy Combs. And in this text exchange, he said to Diddy, I'm going to use you as an example to show the Jewish people that told you to call me that no one can threaten or influence me. I told you this was war. Now, he posted that, then he deleted it shortly after, but it's out there. Once it's out there, especially when you're a celebrity, it's screenshotted immediately and it's being reshared. Your words are almost eternal when you're a celeb. Clarence, I agree with you, sir. Clarence says, I'm so tired of Kanye as a person. At least the Miller stuff is new. Kanye is certifiably at the deep end. He needs help. Yeah, he needs help. I agree. Um, and he continues with the anti-Semitic rhetoric. He Last week he wore a White Lives Matter T-shirt, which I don't have a problem with. Unlike a lot of people, um, white lives do matter, right? So if we can say Black Lives Matter, yes, white lives matter as well. All lives matter. We can say all of that. As long as what you're not trying to do is take away from one group by saying another group. You get what I'm saying? If we're saying that all of us are equal and we're all should be treated the same, I'm with that. That doesn't happen. And until it does happen, I will be one of the people who reiterates how much Black Lives Matter. I've got a black son and now I got a black grandson. And hopefully by the time my grandson reaches the age of my son, we're not worried about that type of disparity in the treatment of black men. So hopefully we get there. I don't disagree with the fact that white lives matter. What I disagree with is the reasoning that Kanye West seemingly wore this shirt. He didn't wear it because that's a message that he stands behind. He wore it for the controversy of it. He wore it because he knew that we would be discussing it a week later. So, yes, I do have an issue with Kanye wearing this shirt because Kanye is trying to stoke division, and that's something that we do not need any more of in in our community, especially as far as we are concerned with the way the world is set up right now. Things are not particularly good. We're not in a great place. So, because we're not in a great place, we don't need anybody adding fuel to the fire. And that's precisely what I feel like Kanye West is doing. Uh, Kanye, oh Lord, forgive me, Clarence. I don't know if you heard me. I'm a little scattered brain this morning or this afternoon. Clarence says, does he believe there is some group pulling strings from the background? Yeah. If he's talking about a particular person, he should say that instead of racist statements. He's just wrong. Right. And I don't know if because he did start naming names, but it was basically because these people were also Jewish. Um, here we're gonna pick up another one of his stupid Twitter comments. He said, so Instagram banned him, or Instagram restricted him. He can't say what he wants over there. So he comes to Twitter and says, when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And he put that in capital letters. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. He wrote in another tweet that he deleted, but again, he deleted it. He already said it. It's already been screenshotted and shared everywhere, and now that tweet got him locked out of the platform. The Black Jewish Entertainment Allowance has also condemned Kanye West's messages, and they released a message saying that Ye's recent statements about the Jewish community are hurtful, offensive, and wrong. They perpetuate stereotypes that have been the basis for discrimination and violence against Jews for thousands of years. Words like this tear at the fabric of the Black-Jewish relationship. The Black and Jewish communities must stand together through incidents like this to make clear that trafficking in hateful stereotypes is unacceptable, and that the words of one entertainment do not reflect the views of an entire community. And I can stand behind that. I don't agree with Kanye West. I don't know. I don't know if Kanye has just truly bought into the stereotype that that what we call that what I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. I think he has brought into the stereotype that Jewish people run the world, and that, oh, they're so great with money, and it's just all these stereotypes that are not fair to individuals because you have clumped them as a group. The same thing that Kanye West has done with black people, when he said slavery is a choice, was a choice, and he talks down on black people until it is convenient for him when he wants to disparage his wife and his former wife and her family. Then he talks about how they're racist. You know, he wants his cake and eat it too. Kanye, you can't have it that way. You don't want your black children to do this or that, but you had your black children with a white woman. Nothing wrong with that. It's just saying that she has an equal amount of say in how or what culture these children embrace, because she is of that culture. It seems like Kanye West is just used to getting his way. When he doesn't, he attacks. It sounds like somebody I know, Donald Trump. But yes, he does these things because he's not getting his way in some way, shape, or form. So now he has to go in attack mode. He's done it to his wife. He's done it to Mark Zuckerberg. He's done it to Jared Kushner. He's done it to The Gap. He's done it to Diddy. He's done it to everybody. Anybody who crosses him, perceived slight or not. He goes into this defense mode, and when he goes into defense mode, it seems that his mental health takes a complete slide, and this is where we are. Uh, Clarence says, yes, no more yay for me. This is worse than the Will Smith slap. I agree. I think that I could find at least some redemption for Will Smith because he was man enough to apologize. Now, that doesn't mean that the world has to accept his apology, but I think it's a huge step when you apologize for the angst you may have caused your fan base and other people and Chris Rock when he slapped him. But Kanye has no conscience. He just continuously burns bridges, and when he's burning the bridges, it's not with some gasoline in the match. He is hitting them with a nuclear bomb. These bridges are not going to be reparable at all. And like you, Clarence, I'm through with Kanye. I've been through with him for a while, but I'm really through with him now. I can't deal with Kanye West. I can't. He has always he's always been a problem, but over here lately it's just been ridiculous. And again, I wanted to talk about it because my sister she wanted to hear my thoughts, and she had already heard them. She knows how I feel about Kanye West. He is imploding. It's not. I don't find anything funny about it, but I'm not about to continuously entertain his stupidity, because that's what it is at this point. It's stupidity. So maybe you feel differently, and if you are not in, oh, shut up, Alexa. So, and if you are not, if you're not here and you want to let me know in the comments, just let me know. I can take that if you don't agree with Clarence and myself. I can accept it. Moving on from Kanye West, good Lord, thank goodness. I guess we go with our next story, which is that the Titans are coming back. That's more or less like a threat. I no longer have HBO Max, but I'm considering getting it back just so I can shit post about Titans. It's coming back November 3rd. This was announced at Comic-Con. And it says that basically Nightwing and his fellow Titans are going to swing back into crime fighting action on Thursday, November 3rd. And season 4 is going to launch with the first 2 episodes on November 3rd. And then it's going to be followed by weekly episodes through December 1st. Then another 6 episodes are going to be released in 2023. So they are splitting the season. Now, Titans, oh no. HBO Max also revealed that a supernatural cult-themed teaser video that gave us a first look at a new supersuit for Beast Boy. I mean, that's not exciting. It's just like when we talked about the Flash boots at DC Fandom last year. I'm not excited. Yeah, I agree, Clarence. He said they should have canceled Titans because season 3 wasn't very good. No, they didn't. They did not do well with with season 3. They had a couple of pretty good episodes, but overall, season 3 was it was a disappointment. But in season 4, the Titans are heading back to San Francisco, and they're going to stop off in Metropolis. They're going to find themselves in the crosshairs of a supernatural cult with powers unlike anything they faced before. So, they kind of make things sound good, and then when they put it into practice, it's never good to me. Will I give it a chance? If I can get my hands back on HBO Max, I might. I'll wait until I'll probably wait until December 1st when the first few episodes are out already, and then I will watch those first ones and then decide whether or not I want to continue in 2023 for those last 6 episodes. So we'll see. But yeah, um, I feel like I neglect to talk about DC an awful lot unless I'm just talking about their movies. They do have television, and if you are watching Titans and you felt like it was better than I did, and maybe in the clearance as well, let us know down in the comments. I'd like to know your opinions and whether or not you'll be watching Titans. So, moving along, we got the Titans announcement. We are also getting the Doom Patrol announcement. Doom Patrol will be returning on December 8th. So, with the first 2 episodes of season 4 again, and one episode will then premiere every Thursday through January 5th. Then 6 additional episodes are going to come out sometime in 2023. Again, this is another one I'm not watching. So I'm not following I'm not following Doom Patrol like that. But here's a description. Season 4 opens with the team unexpected why can't I say this word? Unexpectedly, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time today, traveling to the future to find an unwelcome surprise. Faced with their imminent demise, the Doom Patrol must decide once and for all which is more important, their own happiness or the fate of the world. Now, I've not been watching Doom Patrol. I don't know if this ups the stakes on on Doom Patrol or if it's pretty much more of the same. But this is where we are with Doom Patrol. We're in season 4. That has always been said to be the better of the two series, that Doom Patrol and Titans. If you stack them side by side, that Doom Patrol is the better series. But I didn't particularly like Doom Patrol season 1. It was a little wild for me. It was a little wild, and that's saying an awful lot because it was just a little wild for me. Oh, and Clarence says he didn't like the second season. It's meh TV for him, and I can agree. I didn't finish the first season, did I? I think I might have watched the entire first season, but I didn't go back for season 2 or 3. So here we are. Clara said he thinks he missed the season 2 because yeah, we at season 4 now, and I know that I watched season 1, but I did not go any further with it. I did not. And that's all I had for Titans and Doom Patrol. Now, just like I said at the top, I am very low energy today, and we can have a surface discussion about we can have a surface discussion. Sorry. We can have a surface discussion about those Star Trek announcements over this past weekend over at New York Comic Con. But because my energy is just so freaking low, I just don't want to give this any disservice. But I will talk a little bit, I guess, before we get to the Batman story, since we've only been going 45 minutes. And, I got time. Let's see, TrekCore. I'm going to go to TrekCore because they have some wonderful information about what went on at New York Comic Con. We got that new Picard trailer and some new character reveals, and I feel a certain type of way about what I think is happening in this trailer for Picard. Let's see. Yeah, so in this trailer for Picard, I felt like we getting a villain, we getting some familiar faces that are showing back up. We getting a new ship. So it's a lot going on in the trailer. It's a lot going on in the trailer. But what I think is happening, and I guess I'll go into it a little bit more when I do an in-depth talk about this, is that they are being haunted in a way by villains that they faced in the past, but these villains are not really there. So we have Moriarty who shows back up, right? Which is surprise, surprise, surprise. I never thought we'd see him again, but because I think that that is a Jean-Luc Picard kind of villain, and we've already seen the demise of Q, so we know he couldn't come back. Um, then his next big foil would be Moriarty, right? Um, Let me see. Clarence says, "Is it all the villains return?" I couldn't really clock the vibe. Um, well, I saw Moriarty, and then I also saw Lore, and Lore would be kind of a foil for Data or Geordi because Geordi and Data were best friends. So I don't know if we're going to see others as well, but just the fact that those two showed up and we know that they have both been pretty much like Laura has been completely dismantled, and the ship that was storing that cube or whatever that was, that holodeck program that Moriarty was locked in, that ship was destroyed. So how is he showing back up? The only place he existed was in the holodeck in that program. And Laura was old. Yes, Clarence, Laura was old. And he was on the La Serena, so it's possible. Yeah, so that's how I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling about uh, the villains that we saw in the Picard trailer. Something is causing them to relive their kind of worst fears. It could even be where we see Riker going off and like, let's fire everything we got. I could even say that he might be reliving the time when he had to fire on the Borg with Captain Picard aboard it. There was a lot. There was a lot to dissect, and I think that could be. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is. You know, I'm thinking about something all the time, but that to me sounds like one of the ways that those characters can be back. Um, Also, Geordie LaForge got two daughters. One of them is his real life daughter, Micah Burton. She's playing Ensign Alondra LaForge, and then the other one is Ashley Sharp Chestnut, who is portraying Ensign Sidney LaForge, a helmsman on the USS Titan. Um, there was another child, another LaForge child, but it doesn't look like we're getting that Brett character. Uh, the main villain woman is giving me Shinzon trap. I don't know. I can't talk today. Vibes. And yes, and with that really super aggressive looking ship, uh, all of that to me is I'm getting vibes. I'm getting, like you say, it's taking me back to those films, and also what is her beef? How does she have a beef with Picard? Who is she related to? That we've seen before in the series, and I'm not talking about in real life. In real life, we know she's related to Christopher Plummer, who played what? Oh gosh, what was the Klingon that he played? I can't remember. If you remember, Clarence, let me know. But yeah, um, so we getting old ass lore back, and then we also, besides Moriarty, we also got that ship, the Enterprise F, which surprise, 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 I did not think that we would get a new Enterprise ship, and this one is from Star Trek Online, which I'm unfamiliar with. don't shoot me. But yeah, there was a lot. We're getting Star Trek Picard season 3 on February 16th in 2023, and this is going to be the last time we see. This is going to be the last time we get a new season of Picard. I'll say that because there have been hints dropped by oh gosh, why is my mind so blank today and scrambled? By Jonathan Frakes that we might be ready for a movie. We might be available for a movie, and I'm like, what? What? Why would you say that, sir? So if I don't know if that's a threat or a promise. And also somebody else made a kind of a sly. This is not the last time that you'll see this crew. Somebody else made that type of comment. So hopefully, they're not just pulling our legs. Hopefully that means that we will see them in some capacity again. Hopefully. Now, what else did oh, Prodigy. Prodigy showed us some new stuff too. And I was excited, okay, because we're still in our uniforms. We're still in our uh, oh, Clarence says, but they should do it. It's much less taxing at their age. Yeah, they ain't got to do a whole lot of running around. And I'm wondering, oh, also going back to Picard, I'm wondering if what's going to happen with Raffi and Seven. Things looked a little funny for them, and I was always hoping that we would get those two in their own series. And things was looking real wonky in that trailer. So let me know if you thought that they might meet their end. I hope not. Um, but Terry Matala said that nobody is safe. He did say that on Twitter. So, that's just something that we should keep our eye on. Uh, Clarence. Clarence says Prodigy looks exciting. He's scared about disco. I'm going to talk about Prodigy and then I'm going to tell you how I felt a little bit about the disco trailer or the teaser that we got for disco. Uh, Prodigy. Lord have mercy. Now, this is a character that I truly could not stand the first time we met him, but here we are. Here we are. We got Admiral Jellicoe, who is an admiral with the four pips. So a four pip admiral, and so that would mean that he is superior to our three pip Janeway. Um, yeah, I never did like Jellicoe. There were people who said, hey, he was just doing what he had to do at the time that we were in. We were facing off against the Borg. He had to be ready. And was it the Borg? No, it wasn't the Borg. It was when it was the Cardassians. He was facing off against the Cardassians, and he had to be ready. And I still say he was just a little bit too rough with my crew of TNG. So um, they say he's appeared in novels. I'm not a big novel reader of the Star Trek novels. Um, this is going to be the first time that we've seen Jellicoe again on screen since Chain of Command Part 2. And let me see, we got some more images from from Prodigy. It looks like we're going to run into the Borg. It looks like at some point they are going to realize that they can't be fighting with Janeway. They just need to not go back to Starfleet and to help people where they are. Now, I don't think that's going to last, but I think at some point during this season that's a conclusion that they're going to come to. And that's a disorienting picture. So yeah, we got some photos, and yeah, you guys just let me know if there was anything more that you pretty much were excited about for Star Trek Prodigy, which is coming back October 27th. So real soon here. I can't wait. Um, can't wait. Clarence said they should do a Seven spinoff featuring the Voyager crew. I would be here for it. Yeah. Now the only thing about that Voyager crew is well, it ain't nothing wrong with it. We it's like we haven't really seen very many of them. We saw Tom Paris in Lower Decks. Um, yeah, we haven't seen very many of them. So yeah, bring them on back. Chakotay and Janeway, of course, have been in Prodigy. Um, yeah, that's it, ain't it? We ain't seen nobody else, have we? Excuse me. I'm so tired, and I feel like crap. Clarence said, I liked how Hollow Janeway was scared of herself. Yeah, yeah. And she should be. She's right to, because she is based on Captain Janeway, right? But then Admiral Janeway has far more experience beyond that of Captain Janeway. So I'd be afraid of her too. Yes. Last but not least, we getting a Star Trek Discovery teaser trailer. And look, before I watched the trailers, because Clarence he put it up on our Discord, which if you are not a member of the Discord, is linked down in the description box where you can join our Discord. Clarence put those trailers up before I had seen them. So I was like, oh Lord, let me watch this disco and see in what way we are facing a world-ending calamity this season. Because every season has been some type of calamity that can just end existence as we know it. I think I was pleasantly surprised to find out that this is not a world-ending calamity. This is a good old-fashioned, like, what is the name of the movie? Gosh, like National Treasure, or not Raiders, yeah, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, or those kinds of the Indiana Jones, yeah. So this is what the vibe that I got off of this trailer. Hopefully it is a fun season, more fun than we've had over the last four, because it's always been something super horrible every year. Hopefully they have a little bit of fun, and they put themselves in a position where um, you're not afraid to watch disco, because Strange New Worlds has done that so very well, where we ain't afraid to watch Strange New Worlds. It's fun. It's something it's something more lighthearted most weeks, and with sprinkled in high stakes missions. Whereas disco, everything has been, oh my God, the Federation as we know it is going to end. And while I have always liked it, I've not hated it. I'm glad this is going to be a change of pace, hopefully. Uh, yeah, okay, Clarence says, yeah, glad it's different in that aspect, but I don't want to see them constantly going rogue. And I mean, weren't they given this assignment for to get this relic, whatever it is, by Kovich? And isn't Rillick and what's the other one? The admiral that I always thought was a bad news. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Admiral Vance. Aren't they like part of the decisions of them going after this relic? Hopefully it's not them just saying, you know what? Despite the fact that Starfleet and the Federation said do this, we're going to do that. I hope it's not that. I hope it's just a mission, and that this mission is going to be an exciting kind of change of pace mission, not the world is ending and Lord have mercy, there's a child crying in this nebula. I don't want that. Now there's a new regular character, Callum Keith Rennie is playing, named Captain Rayner. Captain Rayner looks to me to be mixed between human and it's either human and Romulan, and I'm gonna say human and Romulan, even though that could be human and it could be human and Vulcan as well. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's Romulan. I don't know for sure. Then it got these other new characters. Maul, a former courier turned outlaw who is highly intelligent and dangerous with an impressive strategic mind and a sharp wit. She goes into every situation with a clear plan and stays focused and clear headed on her goal, even when things go awry. She's not intimidated by Captain Burnham or the crew of the USS Discovery and will face down anyone who stands in her way in order to get what she wants. And then La'ak, who is a former courier turned outlaw, who is tough, impulsive, and fiercely protective of his partner Maul. So long as he knows she's safe, he doesn't care about collateral damage or its consequences. A perspective that makes him very dangerous at times and will put him on the opposite side of Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery when they come into conflict. So and then, of course, we saw this image already of her riding this scooter, this bike, or whatever this is. They're saying in Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery uncover a mystery that sends them on an epic adventure across the galaxy to find an ancient power whose very existence has been deliberately hidden for centuries. And gosh, I need to go in my mind about who this ancient power who has been deliberately hidden for centuries, who could this be? I'm wondering if it's someone that we've met before, and if so, am I going to be able to yank the characters out of my brain to find out who it is? But there are others on this hunt as well. Dangerous foes who are desperate to claim the prize for themselves and will stop at nothing to get it. So, yay. I do hope that this is done well, because we need a wonderful change of pace for for Discovery, and we also need it to be competitive with what was going on Strange New Worlds. Uh, Clarence has a power that could destroy life as we know it. And yeah, you're right, Clarence. It could destroy life as we know it. And we'll be right back where we started. So hopefully not. I mean, I'm pretty sure it can. I'm pretty sure it can destroy life as we know it. But hopefully, they come up with something better than that. Now, my last and final, and I think this one is going to take and I wish we had a larger audience here today, Clarence, because I like to know what people think about this, I guess what we would call a theory by comic legend Alan Moore. And I've got this article again from Deadline, which I usually get a lot of my articles from Deadline. But Alan Moore says that an infantile love for Batman and other superheroes can be a precursor to fascism. Now, I'm going to read the article. Hopefully, I don't have to read this whole thing in its entirety. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to read it all in its entirety. Let me take a little sip of water and let's get started here. So, one of the world's most admired comic creators has expressed his concern at the crowds queuing up to watch superhero movies in recent years, saying such urges can be a precursor to fascism, and pointing out the correlation with Donald Trump's election. Alan Moore, who bought The Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, among many other titles, he told The Guardian of his fears for the future. He said that he thought at about 2011 that he thought that it would had that he, I don't know why I can't read today. He said, and I quote, I said around about 2011 that I thought that it had serious and worrying implications for the future if millions of adults were queuing up to see Batman movies, because that kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times, simpler realities, that can very often be a precursor to fascism. Now, he pointed out the time of Donald Trump's election in 2016 coincided with movies moving to the top of the worldwide box office. Moore told The Guardian, hundreds of thousands of adults are lining up to see characters and situations that have been created to entertain the 12-year-old boys, and it was always boys, of 50 years ago. I didn't really think that superheroes were adult fare. I think that this was a misunderstanding born of what happened in the 1980s, to which I must put my hand up to a considerable share of blame, though it was not intentional, when things like Watchmen were first appearing. There were an awful lot of headlines saying comics have grown up. I tend to think that no, comics hadn't grown up. This is Alan Moore saying this. There were a few titles that were more adult than people were used to, but the majority of comics titles were pretty much the same as they'd always been. It wasn't comics growing up. I think it was more comics meeting the emotional age of the audience coming the other way. The mask drawn by David Lloyd in Moore's for Vendetta has been adopted by those making anti-state protests across the world, something Moore greets with cautious approval. He told The Guardian, I can't endorse anything that people who take that mask as an icon might do in the future, of course, but I'm heartened to see that it has been adopted by protest movements so widely across the world, because we do need protest movements now, probably more than we've ever done before. Moore has just published his first collection of short stories, says he's done with both comics and the huge global industry that he did so much himself to transform. He said, I will always love and adore the comics medium, but the comics industry and all the stuff attached to it just became unbearable. Now, that's the end of the article. Alan Moore has given us his reasons for why he believes uh, this love, excuse me, this infantile love is what he called it, of superheroes, how that has led to where we are in the world. And again, we can take it back up to what when we were talking about Velma as well. We as adults are probably more attached to fantasy kind of characters and lives than we've ever been, right? It's been a long time since we have we've been this invested in what I guess is our fantasy characters. When I talk about the MCU, when I talk about DC, when he says Batman, I'm also watching The Boys. I'm also watching Invincible. I'm also watching Umbrella Academy. I'm also watching, we could go on, Stranger Things. I'm watching so many things that are based in a fantasy world. So the fact that we are living in this fantasy world, is it creating a situation where adults are making childish decisions, a longing kind of for yesteryear? Is that something that we could blame on ourselves as being this core group of adults who who many of us still love this stuff? Star Trek, Star Wars. We still love these things. So, are we letting our future down because we are still living in the past? We refuse to grow up and find new grown up things. Well, I don't agree with that 100%. I'm going to catch Clarence's comment before I tell you why I don't agree with that 100%. Clarence says, when talking about the darkest comics, I can see his point, also known as like Watchmen, etc. But ultimately, most comics exude hopefulness. Uh, it wasn't comics. If it wasn't comics, we'd be believing in something. Uh, I don't think believing in a movie star or a famous author is any different. So yeah, and I can agree with that because we're getting to the point where we're all looking for somebody to point the finger at because things are devolving, and it's not just one thing. It can be a conglomerate of things. Like this is not just superheroes. People going to see these superhero movies, and you guys, we should just grow up, mentally grow up. And as you said, Clarence, there are hopeful messages in these comic book movies and superhero stories and that sort of thing. There are hopeful messages. There are lives that we can aspire to in these fictional stories. And as long as we understand that this is fiction, I don't think it's a problem. Um, Now, if we are starting to act as children, because we have seen an influx of people not just enjoying not just enjoying superhero movies, science fiction, and that, but completely identifying with these characters to the point where you feel like, and there are large groups who feel like they are entitled to something. That does that does kind of lend some pause. That that can create an instance where, okay, things should be one way, the way we want it to be, and no other way. Nobody else has to say. We are the voice of the entire fandom, even though no one group is the voice of the entire fandom. I think about the Snyder cult for DC. I think about, and I know they are not going to agree with me, but the recast T'Challa cult of Marvel. They all are saying, hey, we're not doing this. The fans want this. No, you want that. And you want the entire world to bend over because you want that. It's just like where we are with Wakanda Forever. If they don't recast T'Challa, oh, we're not going to the movie. We don't support this, and we should do this and we should do that. But it's not yours to do. You are identifying far too closely with this character. Clarence saying, yeah, if he's saying all forms of escapism, then I think his argument is more valid than singling out comics. I agree with that. Also, he's leaving out this thing called the internet. And the internet is what is truly making things far more toxic than we would ever imagine. Because while there may have always been a little group of people who said, you know what, release the Snyder Cut. Hey there, Lysandra. There might be somebody who says, release the Snyder Cut. Um, I would have never heard it. I wouldn't be surrounded by these people if I were not on the internet, if I were not attached to social media. If I can say, wow, I can get on Twitter and say, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in Wakanda Forever, for instance. And somebody will jump in my comments and say, Wakanda Forever is not going to be good because they did not recast T'Challa. And it's, you're telling me this is how I'm supposed to feel because you feel that way. Yeah, the internet is ugly. Also, and just like Clarence said, it's not only comics, it's sports. There are those people, for instance, Oh, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Nah, LeBron James is the GOAT. Well, while we're talking about the GOAT, you can't forget Steph Curry. Well, what about you get what I'm saying? What you're forgetting about KD. KD is the GOAT. Yeah, if you put these stats against those stats and these, what makes the person the GOAT? I guess the GOAT is like, what era did I come up in? Because to come up in the era of Michael Jordan and those Bulls teams from the '90s, of course I'm gonna say, and I watched that. Of course I'm gonna say the GOAT is Michael Jordan. But for some people who only saw Michael Jordan when there were no stakes involved, they're just watching the rebroadcast or mom and dad's old videotapes. Well, of course they don't feel the stakes that we felt as younger people. So now they are attached to LeBron, and nobody's wrong. you know, nobody's wrong. And I know sometimes I'll even say, "Oh, shoot, you're wrong." I know better. I know exactly why people are doing or are attached to the players, the characters, the actors that they are. uh, I saw earlier today on Twitter, somebody posted uh, these four people are the best voices, the best vocalists in R&B, and they had Mariah Carey, they had Usher, they had Beyonce, and they had Brandy. And I'm like, what the hell? What in the whole hell? Not saying that these are not good choices. You're saying that you're speaking for the entire genre because these are your four favorites. And people are willing to fight in the comments. They're willing to fight over this. And I'm like, those four vocalists, while they are all good vocalists, are we forgetting that there are people far older than them who have been around forever? And you want to say that these four are the best vocalists in R&B? Are y'all crazy? So to me, it don't exist. Kiki Wyatt don't exist. uh, what the heck happened? Oh, okay. Yeah, Kiki Wyatt don't exist. You're saying that Avant, you're saying all of these people, Raheem Devon, these people don't exist because you have a little handful. Did we even forget about Music Soul Child? Did we forget about these people? Lord have mercy. Jill Scott? Anyone? Who can really, like, just for real blow? Are you serious? So again, everybody, there can be a toxic group in any fandom: music, movies, TV, superheroes. uh it could be, and those toxic, that's what we need to look at, that people who are predisposed to being in a toxic kind of fandom, those people are the people who are precursors to fascism. Because and especially if you want to use Donald Trump and the MAGA cult, if you want to use, oh, Whitney, I think they might have been saying people who are still alive, but I get you. Whitney and Aretha, you have to, you cannot continuously, because if we're going with the ones who are deceased, we're forgetting all about Luther Vandross. Are we forgetting about Nat King Cole? Are we forgetting about the people, Marvin Gaye with the silkiest voice ever? Are we forgetting about those? But it's simply because these people were not exposed to them in their popularity, that they ain't thinking about them. Patti LaBelle, thank you, Lysandra. Gladys Knight, who I love. Better not nobody say nothing bad about Gladys Knight. LA proved too much for the man. Love that lady. So yeah, um, there's a toxic fandom for everything, And again, going back to what I was saying before I lose that thought, the MAGA cult is just that same thing. It's a bunch of people who banded together. They were like minded, and it didn't seem to be harmful when it first started. It was just, hey, they really are for Trump for presidency. And then it turned into something ugly, um, where now we're going to insult anybody who is not for Trump, okay? And we're going to watch Donald Trump do things that we know that if anybody else did it, any other political party, if those people did it, we would have a problem with it. But we are going to defend him in his wrongdoings. So now things are starting to get turned toxic. Then we get, oh, if he loses the election, everybody wants Trump to be the president. So if he loses, that means they cheated. But that's not, just because you think that doesn't mean, and you're starting to see that it gets more and more toxic. Then we're going to rush the Capitol and stop them from certifying an election. And now we got a former president who took documents from the White House, from the National Archives, took them to his home, and may or may not have given them all back after his home was a search warrant was executed at his home. This is toxic, and that to me that starts with toxic tribalism, not just superheroes, any kind of tribalism, any way where you say these are the people that I ride with, and right or wrong, I'm a ride or die. That's not smart. There. I never liked the term being a ride or die. That's stupid. Being a ride or die is dumb. Why would you want to be considered a ride or die? Ride or die. Die being the key word here. I don't want to die. I don't want to die fighting for you when you might be wrong. And here we are. Alan Moore has some points, but I think he has, of course, because he's looking at it from a lens of what he contributed to popular culture. He is feeling guilty, so he's looking at it from a lens of superheroes might have been a problem. This might have been a problem. Whereas what he should have been saying is toxic tribalism, becoming so attached that an entire group of media cannot be wrong, or your thoughts, this group of people who consume this type of media, they can't be wrong. I feel like that's where we are as far as fascism and toxic tribalism goes. And I can make a case for toxic tribalism feeding fascism. Because if you were to ask on the other side of the coin, the Republicans feel like the everybody else, pretty much. They feel like everybody else has it in for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has not done any of the things that he's being accused of, but that he's being wrongfully accused because people hate him because he is the best thing for the United States. This is not. I have to present both sides, right? I can't just present the side that has MAGA looking bad, even though that's the way I see things. I'm gonna pull up a book that will prove my point. As soon as I figure out I'm trying to remember what the name of that book was. Oh gosh, I'm trying to find that book. Um, gosh, I can't find it. And the thing is, it's a group of people who have figured out a way to make Donald Trump what they are calling the son of man. Now, um, y'all know, if you've gone to church and you've been raised in with the Bible in your hand, we know who the Son of Man is. And spoiler alert, it's not Donald Trump, but and here we are. They're calling him the Son of Man, the Christ. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to show you the image of that's on this book, because let me see. You got to make it bigger so you can see this. It's pretty scary. Hopefully you can see that. Shucks, I tried to make it as big as I could. Now let me see. Um, but yeah, the name of the book is President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. That is freaking scary, y'all. That's terrifying, because these are people who truly, in the name of not being wrong, they worship Donald Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. Here, that's insane. And here we are. And there are those people, with what's his name, Zack Snyder. Same type of cult. Zack Snyder is right. Whatever he says, whatever we want, his cut and his cut only. If it ain't the cut that he made, it ain't a real movie. These are the types of things that these people were saying. If they don't do this with this movie, I'm not watching it. It's not real. Uh, Such and such and such ain't canon. You know, this is not canon. That's not canon. Gatekeepers. And yeah, I'm 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 shocked that people are actually doing this. And it starts with feeling like you're entitled to everything else, and before you know it, you calling Donald Trump Christ. And I know there are those who don't find that funny. It's more scary than funny, because um, Christ had disciples who would do pretty much anything for him. Some of them, some of them denied him thrice, but there are others who would have done anything for him, and that's a scary place to be in. Donald Trump has recognized that in a group of people, and is exploiting it. And guess who else does that? Kanye West. Now, if we were smart, a lot of us will support someone in their wrongdoing just because they black. And I say it's even more imperative that uh, we don't support people who are in their wrongdoing because they're black. If you're doing something wrong, It is going to be up to us to call you on it. And I feel like we should. I feel like that is our responsibility as people. Call people on that crap. Anywho, instead we making excuses for Kanye. Yes, he does need help. He needs medication, and he needs to be seen by a therapist like immediately. But because we know this, and he knows it as well, you know that the excuses are out the window now. Kanye West is a problem. But because he's black and because he does these things, we keep buying his music. We've made that man a billionaire. We made him a billionaire. We buy his music. We buy his ugly ass clothes and ugly ass shoes. Just for him to constantly and consistently embarrass us on the world stage every chance he gets. So I say it's time to cut ties with Kanye. It's time to cut ties with anything that makes you so crazy that you will do anything to be right. It's time to cut ties with that, especially when there is no right or wrong with it. So yeah, I've talked for all as long as I probably plan to today. um, Again, I'm gonna try to come back and do do the Picard and Discovery and Prodigy trailers some justice because I did kind of rush through talking about them. I do want to give that a little bit more justice. So I'm gonna either do a podcast episode again. Find my podcast after the Snap Movies and TV um, on any of your podcast platforms and subscribe for me. May help that to grow as well. And if you're looking for Werewolf by Night review, it's on my podcast feed. Yep, pay attention because podcasts will drop just like I do with these live streams. You know, right now I'm not going to be nailed down because life is so uncertain with this baby. With all that being said, however, check the description box for all information on how to catch up with me, how to support the show, and how to find where I got my information for all of our topics for today. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I feel better the next time we get together. With all that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.